Hello everyone, my name is Pooja. Today's date is 19 July. Today's video topic name is full stack. Full stack is a combination of front end and back end. Full stack developer are those developer who develop front end and back end of the web application. So first is a front end. Front end developer are mainly focus on the designing and outlook of the website. The main purpose of front end developer to user easily and we easily interact with the system or easily interact with the web. They don't get efforts to interact with our system, so the front end developer are focused on that. So front end technologies are html css uh, html css angular react js etc. So next is in backend. Backend developer are those who develop the server side application. Uh, the main purpose of the backend developers are to manage the database, security, scripting, or website architecture, etc. Backend technologies are Python, Java, Node.js, PHP, Ruby, etc. Next is a database. Database is a collection of organized data. In a database, data are formed in the tabular format, which contains row and column. Means in a database, whatever we have to store in the database, the data is in the form of table and column. In the database, we have to easily access, manipulate, or update the data in the tabular format. So there is a different types of database like MySQL, PGSQL, uh, SQL Server, etc. So let's see the flow of the full stack. So first, when client send the any request, then that HTTP request will be firstly come in the view server. When view server get that request, view server is attached to the browser. Then that view server is send the API to the main server or Spring server. Then in the Spring server there is a model and controller. So there is a different classes present in the controller. So how we have to decide that which class is a controller or which class is a normal class? According to the name, we cannot define that it class B and my controller, it class B and controller. So we have to use the annotations. So @controller annotation which are defines the particular class is a controller. So there is two types of annotations, @controller and @rest controller. @controller is an MVC annotation and @rest controller is an the RESTful web services annotation. So at the controller we have at the class we have to define the @rate controller annotation. In the controller it is a combination of methods. So there is a lots of method will be present in the controller. So when the API is come, how we have to decide that that API what should we get from and which method should we get. So we have to use another annotation like @request mapping. Request mapping annotation maps the current method of the controller with the API. So @request mapping we have to use in the upper side of the method at the each method. When we have suppose if you have to put in URL our original method name, then hacker will be easily hack our system or hack our website. That's why we does not put the original name of the original name of the method in our URL or in the request. We have to put the in the request mapping we have to put the another name of the URL, and in that URL we have to put the request mapping in the request mapping name in the URL, so user cannot hack our system easily. Next, when then that request will be forward to the or pass to the model get that data and pass to the database according to the according to the API requirement. The database put model get the data from the database and it will be passed to the controller pass the data to the client server is already attached to the view server. That's why it's directly get the output. In this Spring MVC, we pass the view plus data to the client server. But in the RESTful web services, we have to just pass the data because view server is already attached to the client. There is no take extra efforts to create the view and pass them. So it's just pass the data to the client browser. Let's see the example. When we have to hit any login URL, then that URL is passed to the web server. Passed to the view server. View server is attached to the client browser. It's download all the files to the client browser. Then that API, particular API will be hit to the and it go to the controller. Controller according to the API, controller get the data and call the particular method or request mapping and pass to the model. Model give the data from the database and it will be passed to the controller. That data will be passed to the client. Because view is already present in client browser, so we have to directly get the data. When we have to log in, put your ID password, it will be go to the view server. View server will be attached to the client. Then it will be send the API, login API to the controller. Controller call the login method and it will be send ID and password to the model. Model pass the ID password to the database. Database check it already exists or not. If it is already exist, it will be send the access of this account to the client. Otherwise it will be send the error message. That error message should be going to the controller. Controller it will be throw, or controller it will be pass to the client browser. So in the client browser we have to say get the either ID password is correct, we have to get the access of our account, either we have to get the error message.